Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thunder's YouTube Garage. I'm Paul. My friends call me Thunder, and you can too. In today's video, I am going to be working on rebuilding the transmission for the Jeep. I have my son Zach helping me for a little while today, and so you may see him in it a little bit. I'm not going to be doing a step-by-step rebuild process on it. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that are far better at explaining it than I am, but I am going to be, kind of time-lapsing what I'm doing and just, show you what's going on while I'm doing it. Anyway, about that transmission, it's a Borg-Warner T-90 transmission. I mentioned in an earlier video, but when I bought the Jeep, the previous owner told me that it had been sitting in a field since sometime in the 1980s. He said it hadn't really moved, and so when I got it home, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to find with the engine and the transmission and the transfer case on it. The engine, we actually did get the engine started, which was a miracle. I don't even have any video. I have some video of it running a little bit. I wish I would have taken some video of the condition of the engine when we got the Jeep home, but the carburetor was full of a rat's nest. I mean, clear to the top. I wasn't sure if it was even going to turn over, but the engine turned over. We took the carburetor off of it, and fortunately the butterfly valves at the bottom were closed, and so it didn't fill the intake manifold full of crap at all, and we were able to get it cleaned out, and with a little bit of work we actually got that engine running. The transmission, again, was kind of an unknown. If you're familiar with the T-90 transmissions, especially in a lot of those old Jeeps, that don't have a top on them, they are notorious for filling up full of water. You have water, rain and weather and everything else that builds up on them, and it actually runs down through the transmission tower and fills the cases up full of water. The little green Jeep that I showed you, when we opened that transmission up, it was just rusted shut and just wouldn't move, and it was unsalvageable. And so I was kind of expecting the same type of a situation with the Navy Jeep when we opened up the transmission on it. Surprisingly, it was in pretty good shape. It was free. All of the gears moved freely in it. There was a little bit of rust on some of the gears, but no pitting, and not really bad condition at all, which was surprising. The transfer case was kind of the same situation on it. Anyway, I drained that transmission out. It did have some water in it, but it had a lot of oil in it still that I think helped protect the gears. I still wanted to rebuild it because there are some components in there that you can't, see the condition of them just from glancing inside of it. They could have gotten ruined or gotten, corroded or marred up or whatever. Today we're going to work on rebuilding that transmission. I'm going to time-lapse it. We're going to be using a lot of the same parts, unless we find out when we tear it apart that we need to replace them. But from visual inspection, it looks like they are going to be pretty good condition on it. So let's go ahead and get started on it. I'll get set up and we'll bring you along. Thanks for watching.
fabric seals, like the felt.
Yeah, it hasn't
Seal.
been back in.
It's got new ones. Good, 'cause this was broken in half. That's 2 pieces.
Now, that thing is going to be full of debris that needs to...
Needle bearings.
Yeah, I mean, we probably... Yeah, there's still needle bearings in there, and then there's a spacer in there.
And guess what's down in here?
Bunch of needle bearings.
More needle bearings.
We got the transmission opened up and started tearing it down, and it actually came apart pretty easily. And everything actually looked like it was in really good condition. We did have a little bit of trouble with getting the lower cluster out. The bearings inside of it weren't great. It was probably a good thing that we took it apart. Anyway, yeah, but it's going well. Okay, so you saw me, working on the cluster gear for the bottom, putting the new bearings in it. I'd actually heard how big of a pain it was to get all those needle bearings in it. There was 88 needle bearings that needed to go in there in 4 different sections. I just used some assembly lube, used it pretty liberally, and stuck them in there, and they actually held together really well. I used a wooden dowel that was the same diameter as the main shaft that came out of there, and just kind of used it as a guide for the needle bearings while I was putting them in there, and it worked out really nice to push those in there. So we got the main shaft or excuse me, the lower shaft, the lower cluster gear, ready to go in. And now I'm going to start working on the upper shaft and getting the synchros and everything put on there and get the bearings pressed on and whatnot. So anyway, I'll be back in a minute and we'll talk about it. On this shaft, when I took it apart, there is supposed to be a spacer that goes right in there. You can kind of see the mark. I don't know if that's blurry. You can kind of see the mark of where it was, but I cannot find that spacer anywhere. And it goes in before I put this bearing on, and actually it's a different bearing, not that one. Before I press it into place, and I cannot find it anywhere. So I had to go in and I actually just ordered a new one. So I probably won't finish this. Okay, well, I couldn't find that spacer that I was just telling you about. So I went in, I ordered the new spacer. I came out, started moving some stuff around, trying to organize this because I wasn't going to be able to finish it today. But look what I found. I'm not kidding you, it wasn't 30 seconds after I came out of the house after ordering that new spacer, I picked up this back cap and this spacer was underneath it. Now I would swear to you that I picked that thing up 3 or 4 times looking for it. I've been looking for this spacer for 3 hours trying to find it. I've looked everywhere. Transmission, kind of show you down in here, show it to you spinning. Right now the transmission's in neutral, but you know, that's the synchro. I'm not going to try to push it back and forth because I don't want to accidentally separate that main shaft again. This top shaft is actually 2 pieces, but I mean it's all working really good. First gear moves freely up and down the shaft. The reverse idler gear down below was in good shape. And man, I couldn't have been happier with how it went back together. One of the things, this this is the front cap. It connects right there. You can see on it, it's a little bit worn out. I actually ordered a new one. That's where the throwout bearing for the clutch rides along there, and it's a little bit worn. I actually decided to get a new one for a couple of reasons. There's a felt washer that goes behind this cap, seals the oil from leaking out. These transmissions leak all over the place anyway. I've tried to seal it up the best that I can, but the new cap that I ordered has a modern neoprene seal on it, and there shouldn't be any oil really coming up here anyway, because I put a sealed bearing in the front to make it so we didn't have to lubricate that bearing. But anyway, it looks good. It's almost ready to go back in to the Jeep. I still need to rebuild the shift tower. Let me show you this. Kind of when I was talking to you before about how they get water in there, there is a boot that goes over the top of the shift tower, but when they sit out in the elements for in the sun and everything else, those boots dry rot and they crack, and it allows moisture down in there. So that's how moisture gets down into the transmission. It kind of runs down the shift lever and comes right into the forks and just drops straight into the transmission case. So I still need to rebuild this top part. Again, everything on it looks really good. The shift forks don't look like they're overly worn, but I'm going to replace the springs and the poppet valves and just clean it up in there, clean that tower off, and just make it look nice. So anyway, okay, that's going to do it for me today. If you like what you see in these videos, please consider subscribing. Go ahead and hit that like button. And as usual, remember to love God and to love your neighbor. That is the key to happiness in this life. I truly believe it. And I appreciate you watching. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.